Hi, my name is Robin, and I'm going to be talking to you guys tonight about elderly drivers. My main claim is that elderly drivers have a negative effect on road safety. Tonight I'm going to show you that how aging affects a person's capability to drive. Then I will tell you why the elderly are a hazard on the road. And lastly, I will show you that elderly have the highest fatal crash rate compared to another age group. So my first claim is that aging affects a person's capability to drive. Many older people get the feeling of nervousness and anxiety while driving. The elderly have a slower reaction time because as you age, your action time slows down. State Farm says that aging slows down reaction time, which is also associated with many accidents due to drunk driving. My second claim is that elderly people are a hazard because of their medical problems. The elderly have hearing and vision problems, and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development states that older drivers with cognitive and visual impairments may be most at risk because many are not aware or do not recognize their impairment. Also, elderly people have medical problems and they have the inability to focus due to certain medications or diseases they may have. And elderly people also have very fragile bodies. Seniors Love to Know says that they have weak and frail bodies and cannot handle accidents like most people. Even a slight bump can cause serious injury to an older person. My third claim is that elderly drivers have one of the highest fatal crash rates compared to other drivers. Elderly statistics show examples of this. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says that 14% of all accidents are due to elderly drivers, and 81% of those accidents involving people 65 years or older lead to death. Seniors 65 years to 85 years and older had approximately 6,000 fatal crashes in 2008 based on their miles driven. And statistics also show that elderly people are more likely to be hit than a younger driver. Seniors Love to Know says that elderly driving statistics show that by 2030, the elderly would comprise nearly 25% of the total people driving, and they will be involved in nearly 25% of fatal vehicular accidents. So the elderly have many problems that hinder their capabilities to drive. The first is their slow reaction time, their frail bodies that can be injured easily, vision and hearing problems due to aging and complications that come with it, the inability to focus because of aging and medications that they may be on, which leads to more unnecessary fatal crashes. Which reminds us that elderly drivers have a negative effect on road safety, so next time you're driving, make sure to be aware for not only drunk drivers, but also elderly drivers. Thank you.
All right, the main proposition is clearly stated. When you present your secondary claims in the preview, you tell us kind of the direction that you're going in, but the claims, when you're presenting them there, are not really phrased as claims, they're phrased as questions. Interestingly enough, though, when you get to those points, you do phrase them as claims, so that helps a little bit in clearing that up. The first point, I think that there were a couple of assertions there that needed some proof. For example, this issue about the nervousness being an issue concerning the elderly drivers. I thought that was really an assertion on your part. The second point had much better information on it. There was a lot of statistical information, although it was a little, the conclusions of the one advocate was kind of speculative on those with visual or cognitive issues. That would apply regardless of the age, so I'm not exactly sure. What you need is the statistic that tells us how much more people who are older have those visual and cognitive issues. I think there's probably a safe assumption there that that's true, but quantifying it would not hurt your argument, and in fact it would support the inference that you're making there. On the third point, when you make the argument about the elderly being vulnerable, well, the vulnerability that the elderly suffer from, why would that be different whether they were driving or somebody else was driving? It's their bodies that are aged, that they have difficulty surviving accidents, and I'm not exactly sure how that would change whether they were driving or whether they were sitting in the back seat or the passenger seat. At the end, you've got one statistic that says in 2030, 25% of the drivers will be elderly, and they'll be responsible for 25% of the vehicle accidents. I'm going, okay, that sounds pretty much like the way it should be. You know, that doesn't necessarily show that they are any greater danger than any other particular group. So there's something wrong with that statistic. I'm not sure that the inference that you're making there is supported by that statistic. Seemed a little bit like you were rushing in a few sections of the speech also. All right, thank you.